when I was in college, I did go down to Hercules, and they let me look through some of their archives, and I found some of his published works. But you know, finding his original work was really tricky. I mean, his house that he grew up in burned to the ground in 1942, so who knows what was lost there. And he really didn't care anything about fame or fortune, and often gave his artwork away to people who helped him out, or if somebody said, well, I like that picture, he would just give it to them. This is the wall of William White's friends. These are the children that would hang out at his house. These were the children of the families that would help him out. For example, this is a picture of Carol Harrington at age 3 months old. Her father owned the Penny Hill Donut Shop on the corner and would set out a bag of day-old donuts for Mr. White every day. This is actually a drawing he did of me around 1965. And this is drawings of another friend, Betsy Mahan. And here Mr. White is playing with Betsy a little bit. He's playing a joke on her. He told her that if she ran around the rock in his yard 7 times and put her ear to the ground, she could hear what the elves were doing. And she said that they were building something. Many of the pictures that you see here are children from many decades in Mr. White's life. When we would be sitting there creating and coloring and making drawings and stuff, he would just be sketching us. For me, it was a magical time because he encouraged my love of art and nature.
Nancy, one of my favorite sections of the exhibition has to do with these sort of simple glimpses into Wilmington. Tell us a little bit about some of the more familiar spots that we'll see on this wall.
Well, William White never went anywhere without a pencil and a sketchbook. And whether he was sitting in a park in Rodney Square sketching people, or he was sketching some of the familiar haunts in downtown Wilmington. For example, this one here is, you know, there was a flight to the suburbs after World War II, and a lot of the downtown business area just fell to ruin. So in this picture, he's got a drawing of a couple of buildings down on what we would call Front Street, or today it's Martin Luther King Boulevard, with a Victory Cafe sign in the window. And he would capture these glimpses of vanishing landscapes. Here he would have passed this old barn on his walks out to Claymont to visit his friends at Cade's Cafe. This is Barefoot Beeson's barn, which burned to the ground in the mid-40s. You know, a factory's probably up in the Claymont area. You can't tell whether the factory's in operation or not. There's no smoke coming out of the smokestacks. You know, a little clapboard, rural clapboard house. This picture up here is Wilmington's east side. You know, a dairy barn out in northern Delaware's Piedmont. And he also had a really incisive memory for things. So if he made sketches along the way, he could have completed the work, you know, on his own back in his studio. I mean, many times I would go on walks with him through Bringhurst Woods, and you can see these rocks, these boulders here, and actually behind us, this painting on the wall of the boulders in Shellpot Creek. You know, these were the things that he recorded everywhere he went for his entire life.
So one of the titles of the pieces in this section is called Shells from Nancy. What is that about?
Our family would vacation in Florida, and I was a shell collector. As a matter of fact, I collected everything all over the place. So I brought him back a collection of shells, and he made this drawing. I mean, it's just like these sort of, I guess they're iron ore geodes. I don't know what else to call them. But, you know, he had a real sense of design. And you see in his other nature drawings where he would just place objects on the page without any sort of background reference or context. And he was more concerned with the design of the thing, of things closely observed, if you will. Most of us would dig up a clump of daylilies and throw them in the compost, but here White explores their roots, their tubers, really arranges them nicely on the page, and gives us a little snail for balance.